recently we all know tourism national policy was formulated and announced. All tourism activities in the country in the future going to be heading toward the sustainable development goal achievement, which is part and parcel of this very subject we are meeting here today.
Our clientele is mostly the global clients. So we need to communicate with them with that global language and also the global standards.
It's important to really do this and start looking at certain things like carbon calculations to really understand where exactly you can impact.
As a third party, what we play in this ground actually on top of our major objective is to be the impartial body to make the judgment whether the compliance levels are being met or not. Bring in the values with our international recognition into the sector so that the valuable efforts done by practitioners can be showcased with a third-party assurance.
We always thought of going towards sustainability and the low impact on the environment, and those are in our core philosophy.
As a national organization, Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, policy-wise as well as strategy-wise as well as practical in operation-wise, we have taken some initiative. This is a start only.
The Global Sustainable Tourism Council is providing you criteria how to align your process practices more sustainable way. So we have criteria for the accommodation and also the tour operators and also the destination. So in this year, we published the MICE criteria.
Now we are also, starting to look at the type of emissions that we have in terms of our building methods. I think more and more we are moving to, tents and different types of unique experiences when we are building, which is low impact. We are also, of course, been working on reducing our single-use plastics. I think right after COVID, we finally managed to get rid of plastic water bottles.
Sustainability is something that we have been talking for a long time. We haven't done that much of action, so it has to be spoken very loudly now. So to do that, how do the masses can be drive towards one direction is by rules, regulations, standards. So that's how it goes.
When it comes to the event industry, you're not talking about the venue itself, but there are a lot of vendors working with you. What we did was we try to get them to think differently. So we came up with the idea to use recycle items for their decoration. Sometimes reduce the light they're using in the events.
Our challenge is how do we help these stakeholders to meet their challenges and win over it.
Someone really having the accreditation and also global recognition need to certify that organization really practicing the sustainability.
That's a challenge, but in a lot of other countries, you do get inspired how you go to one restaurant in July and then you go again in December. It's a totally different menu which revolves around the seasonality of things. So I think that's something that we have to, start bringing into Sri Lanka, that thinking that, it's best to work with what we have around us.
It's true that any business has, the primary focus has to be profits. I think we should not shy to say that business is not charity. It has to be financially stable. First to take care of yourself, then of course the others. So to do that, it's fine. But the problem is unless or until you understand the bigger problem, the bigger problem will bring in new challenges. So the business organizations, if they're not ready to gear up and cope up in those challenges in the business, probably there's no business case in future.
You have to have a solid story about it. Whenever you come up with the idea and you say you have this low emission and you use natural airflow for your event venue, but it's not convincing. So you have to convince them, showing them what you have done.
So how we identify the suppliers and also how do we develop supplier, how do we link the supplier with the service providers is a question. Thanks to organizations like UNDP who came forward and helped us on many ways to what we are today. USAID came forward and developed a framework to us. And Solidat organization came forward and developed a self-assessment system for us. ADB came forward and developing a sustainable destination plan for us.
So now we have GSSC trainers and also now we have the auditors and also the consultants who consult the companies who really need the help.
You know, as entities in the industry, we have to understand also how we can leverage what we are doing, but also do it in a genuine way, because I know greenwashing is definitely a bit of an issue. Some people probably are good at doing the work and not telling the story, and sometimes it's the other way around, and there are people who are good at both as well, and I think it's important to be good at both.
The nature positivity is something that we have been always pitching ourselves. So always the smiling people plus the beautiful beaches, the tea gardens of our nature. We have to make sure that it stays. So it was there, it is now, but it stays in the future.
So we reduce our emission through energy using the natural lighting and the natural airflow.
Now, of course, with this new policy, as well as a lot of enthusiasm from various corners, now the little bit of resource is allocated, but then not sufficient. A smaller crowd doing this will not help, but we need to bring it to the vast majority, and we need to make it as a trend like in developed countries.
All the curriculums like universities especially, the tourism, so need to apply these content, the sustainability practices, certifications, and what is the global demand kind of thing. So then the new generation will get to know those things.
At THEMA, we like to do, I think, small projects that have a quite big impact. So yes, we might be moving out of paper, but sometimes paper might have less carbon than the servers and everything that we used to store it.
Changing towards sustainability has a cost, but it doesn't mean always it's very expensive. So probably you have to rethink. So probably to have this setup definitely must have a different cost, but I think more than the cost, it was different thinking. Our challenge is to understand the challenges of both ends. What is the biggest challenge, why the standards are coming up, and also to understand the practitioners' challenges. Then only you can make a very impartial judgment.
We don't believe that sustainability can implement successfully by rules and regulations. It's a process of understanding responsibility and the fulfilling the responsibility.
So how we really get together collaboratively as a sustainable tourism destination matter. So then for that, really need to everyone be together and focusing in one direction.
In terms of wastage, what is being done regarding collection, separation, treatment, and reuse?
I would say most of the hotels, we do work on segregation and passing it out to collection agencies, but when you segregate your waste, if it all just gets taken and put into one pit, then it's a bit of a problem.
When you assess your carbon, you assess it in your scopes. So your direct emissions, your indirect emissions. So we call it scope 1, 2, 3. 3 is about your emission caused by your supply chain, so upstream and downstream. There probably that is something we could also support with.
There are many things that we try to give a life to the thrown away materials.
Do you find that the decision to incorporate sustainability into operating practices is more enduring when it's demand-led, i.e. your customers ask for it, or when it's supply-led?
So when come to tourism, we touched on mainly the sensitive resources, natural resources and cultural resources. Both are sensitive.
I think sustainability is no more a luxury.